and where you're from, and
okay. Jill is on. Is that who you're waiting for?
not Jill. No,
Okay.
Linda. She's messaging me. I'll see what's going on.
Okay. So for everybody that has jumped on, thank you for jumping on. My name is Christy Barkley, and I'm just super excited about this opportunity to share the business. I've invited Natalie to be on with us, because if it wasn't for Natalie sharing and working the business, none of the rest of us on this call would be here. So Natalie's here and Debbie is here, and super excited for Debbie, who's invited some of her friends to join us. And I'm just tuning in from overcast Fort Lauderdale. You want to tell them a little bit about you, Debbie?
I will. Just 1 second. I think we've got Linda. Can you hear us? Let me unmute Jill.
I'll unmute. No. Linda, is she on a Chromebook?
Linda, are you on a Chromebook? Is that you?
Yep, that's me.
Wave if it's Linda.
Can you hear me?
Okay, perfect. Okay. Well,
okay.
We will dispense with introductions. We were waiting for Linda to come on because I knew she was trying to get on, and part of this Zoom is for her. And Tiffany, you have just a cute view. Thank you. All right. So hello.
Right now. Okay.
What's that?
I said everybody is muted right now except
Perfect.
You and I. So.
Okay.
All right.
So
get
hello
started.
and Will. Are you starting? You're recording.
No, you're starting.
There you go. Okay.
You're starting.
Welcome. We are so excited to have you on our call this morning. And thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be here, and we appreciate that. The purpose of this call is for you to see for yourself what we've seen, to feel what we felt, and to experience what we've experienced, and hopefully come to the same conclusion that we did, which is giving this is worth trying. So today you're going to hear some stories, and then you'll be invited to decide for yourself if this would be a good fit. Who's unmuted? First of all, Plexus is a gut health, weight loss, and skincare company, and they are all interrelated, just so you know. So today I'm going to go ahead and start off with my story, and then we will ask a couple other people to give their story about their experience with Plexus. So my story with Plexus actually started about 3 years ago. In fact, this is my anniversary month. But actually it started 6 years ago with a daughter who struggled with self-harm, suicidal ideation, and the ability to see in herself the beauty and worth that everyone else around her could see. She struggled with anxiety, depression, PTSD. She spent many hours in counselors' offices, in hospital ER rooms, hospital mental health wings, and finally in an in-house treatment through a hospital. During her admission to this treatment, the nurse that was doing her admitting, that was in charge of her, she would be in charge of her medication and diet, told us about some studies that were being done with probiotics that were helping people that had anxiety, depression, and PTSD. She told us that if we could find the probiotics and bring them in, she would allow them to be administered to her. So she gave us a list of the 8 specific probiotics that were being used in the studies and sent us out to find them. We were unable to find all 8, not in any one product, not in any 2 products, and not in any 3 products. So we did the best we could. We got about 2 products that had 6 of the 8 in it. We took it back in, and they used it during her 90 days in that program. Those were costing us about $75 to $80 a month just for those probiotics. She finished the program, and then when she turned 18 years old, she decided she was going to move in with her sister that lives in Washington. And she still struggled, though, with self-harm, dark thoughts, and turned to self-medicating with drugs that were legal in Washington, as well as the plethora of drugs, the plethora of prescriptions that she left the treatment facility with. Those would be prescriptions to help her sleep, to curb her stomach upset, and to calm the anxiety attacks when they came. And like I said, self-harm was still a thing in her life. So we lived overseas at the time, and I was getting phone calls several times a week during my day, but it would be her middle of the night where she couldn't sleep and she was upset, and she was not sleeping. She had lost a ton of weight. She was under 100 pounds. She's 5'4", so she's not a big person, but under 100 pounds is way too thin. And she just could not see. She didn't feel that she had anything going for her that warranted her staying in the pain that she was just to be alive. This breaks a mother's heart, literally. So I get teary every time I say this, and as part of my story, though, I do have to go back. I have 10 beautiful children. They are all mine. I birthed every single one of them. Some people may say I'm crazy, and I will not confirm or deny that. But what I do know is that raising that many children is hard. I also know that during the time that I was raising them, mental health was not openly discussed. And I struggled to find joy in my days. I knew that I should be experiencing it, but I just couldn't find it. So I don't know what prompted me to discuss my mental health with my physician, but I did, and I was given a prescription to try with the explanation that depending upon my chemical imbalance, it may or may not work, and it would take about 8 to 12 weeks until we would know if it would work. Then if it didn't, we would try another one. So fortunately for me, that prescription seemed to work, and I started to feel normal. But it was a constant battle to keep a good balance with dosage and prescription type. So 3 years ago, my friend posted about a probiotic that had 8 different strains of bacteria that studies had shown would help with depression and anxiety. If you don't know, the light bulb went off. And that was when I had to message her. So I messaged her to find out more. It seemed like the answer to my prayers until I learned it was with one of those companies. I had tried those things, and while I had never been successful and it usually ended up costing me more than my budget could handle, something told me I needed to give this a try. So I took the risk and gave it a try. Frankly, I was totally prepared to take the 60-day money-back guarantee. I never did use that money-back guarantee, though, because things changed. My family noticed that something was different when we took a trip back to the States for another daughter's wedding. They noticed that my husband actually played with the grandchildren instead of watching them. They noticed that he and I had a happier relationship. My daughter-in-law asked me what we were doing, and I gave her a 3-day sample of a pink drink to try. She was one of those few that have an immediate reaction with it. She felt a difference in that first 3 days and then decided that she would become a wholesale customer. Next thing I know, I see a post on Facebook from her about it. And she had 3 people try, they had a couple people try, and before I knew it, I had an accidental business. I also, during that time, decided to start my daughter because after the 2 months, things were working out. So we started our daughter that was dealing with her anxiety on these products. By about the 3-month mark, I realized that I hadn't been getting phone calls during the middle of the day every week again. And by the 6-month mark, I actually had to call her to make sure that she was doing okay because I hadn't heard from her in quite a while. She told me she was sleeping again and hadn't needed to use any of her sleep prescriptions to do it. She was able to eat and had gained 15 pounds, which she desperately needed. She didn't have constant stomach aches. She had actually gotten a job and wasn't filled with anxiety. She celebrated her 21st birthday last year. I'm gonna get choked up again. When I called her on the phone to wish her a happy birthday, she made a comment that both broke my heart and made it sing. She said, "Mom, I am so grateful for Plexus and what it's done for me. I would never be alive. I never thought I would be alive to celebrate my 21st birthday. And I'm so glad I am." And that, friends, is why I share about these products. They have changed my world. I have a team of friends who have also had their worlds changed and felt the difference of having better health can give them. So I also wanted to touch really briefly on what kind of a difference being a part of this company has made for me financially. I'm a senior gold ambassador, and I love that even though I'm not in the top ranks of the company, I am still able to contribute to my family finances. My husband makes a good living, but there are still some things that we love to do, and the budget just doesn't quite stretch that far. This has provided us a way to make up the difference. During these past few months with the pandemic, my income has actually increased as people are realizing that their health is important. I'm so grateful that I said yes to trying these products and that I had the courage to share with others. So many lives are being blessed because of that one decision that I made. We don't ever know what's going to happen, but I know that if you're here listening to this call, you're at least curious. You have that feeling in your heart and you're thinking, what if? What if I'm here? And you're thinking to yourself, what if? And I'm here to tell you that to take the next step, because you never know when your plan B is going to be your plan A. So thanks for letting me share my story. I'm not the only one who's had their lives changed, and so I'd like you to introduce you to my friend Christy. She is a traumatic brain injury survivor, and she has an amazing story. She is also a certified life coach. And I love the fact that she uses that skill to help my team and her team grow by keeping us in a good mental and positive mindset. So, Christy, can you share your story?
Yes, Debbie, thank you for sharing so much of your story. Whenever I hear your whole story, it makes me so teary-eyed and so grateful that you took a chance. It's so amazing. So my name is Christy Barkley, like I said earlier before everybody was on here. And like Debbie said, I am a traumatic brain injury survivor. So I'm not going to take too long. I really want to share how the business has affected me. But just to give you background, I have a master's degree in sport management. I worked in the NHL. I had an amazing, amazing life. And then I had a horrible concussion, which was a concussion after more than a dozen concussions before that. And at that time, doctors retired me and said I would never, ever work again. My symptoms progressed, not rapidly. That was in 2008. For some, it would be rapidly. But by 2014, that's when the doctors had said, you will no longer, by 2016, they said I wouldn't recognize my children. By 2018, they said I'd be in assisted living. They had already diagnosed me with early onset dementia at the age of 40. I had 7 specialists that worked with me. I had 13 prescriptions. It was just a mess. My life was a mess. My memory was gone. I could go on and on. I could go on for an hour about what my health was like. But really what I want to share with you is what the Plexus Business did for me. So I started 5 years ago in April. So I just passed my 5-year mark. And about 3 months in, I still didn't communicate very well. I didn't speak well if people talked to me. Like I had to communicate through Messenger and text because my response was so delayed, just because that's where my communication was at the time. And I had no intention of sharing Plexus with anybody. At that time, we were just grateful that I got out of bed, that I was able to do maybe laundry and dinner in one day. I still wasn't leaving my home, but my headaches and my migraines were gone. So I just felt better, so much better. But 3 months in, and my husband lost his job. And my husband made a lot of money, a whole lot of money. And we have 4 kids, and we had this great life. And our oldest son was in this amazing private school. And my husband lost his job. And so he does what most people would do when all of a sudden you go from a great income to no income at all. And he cut everything. You know, of course he cut everything, and that makes perfect sense. Cable, I mean, everything. And he said, you have to pull Isaac out of private school. And I was like, I'm not going to. And he goes, we can't pay for it. And I said, let me try. At that time, there was a few people on our team that I connected with and embraced. One of them is on here, Natalie, and she was working in the business and making a significant amount of money. And she'll tell her story. But I just said, let me try. And he said, okay, but you have 2 months to make enough money to start paying monthly payments for Isaac's school, or he's coming out. And I said, okay. So I legitimately went from, my mom had started when I started feeling better. So I was making not very much money. And he gave me 2 months to be able to make the $1,200 a month I needed to pay for Isaac's school. And I did. And I don't want you to look and go, well, look, you know, she's got all this together and she talks great and she's got enthusiasm. And I can share one of my videos from 4 years ago and y'all would die. Like, no light in my eyes. I talked really slow. Like, if you wanted to talk about Plexus on the phone, I legitimately couldn't. Because if you talk to me, my brain didn't work quick enough to respond. So I only grew my business to $1,200 a month only through Facebook Messenger and texts. 0 face-to-face, 0 phone calls, because I wasn't capable. Now, this is 5 years later. People who meet me now have no idea I have a traumatic brain injury. I talk too much, everything. But let me just tell you, so it went from needing to pay for my son's private school, which was $1,200 a month, and I did. Well, then he graduated and he went to Ohio State. We did not live in Ohio. If you've ever paid for out-of-state college tuition, it's a lot. So my husband said, it's on you again, because he had started his own company and he was paying himself $36,000 a year. Let me just, you might have an idea how far $36,000 a year goes with 4 kids and 1 in out-of-state tuition. It doesn't go very far. So guess what? Plexus had to step it up. And then all of a sudden, a year later, he gets this job opportunity in Fort Lauderdale. Well, there's a ginormous difference between living in Tennessee and living in Fort Lauderdale. I went from paying $2,000 a month mortgage for a 5,000 square foot home in Tennessee to moving to a $4,000 a month, 1,200 square foot apartment in Fort Lauderdale. Like, everything costs so much more here. And my husband goes, I'm not really sure if we can afford this, but we're going to try it for a year. By the way, I'm going to need you to make like $7,000 or $8,000 a month for this to be feasible. And so I said, by when? And he goes, in the next 3 months. And I said, okay. And I went to work. And you guys, and what the reason I share that is because the amazing thing about the Plexus business is once you have an idea of what you want to make or how you're going to, you know, we have an amazing team that will put together the steps and the plan for you to get there. If you're willing to do the work, and if you only need to make or want to make an extra $500 a month, totally okay. You don't have to work as much as Natalie or I work. Plus, it doesn't feel like work. I'm going to be honest with you. None of what I do feels like work because I spend all day helping people reach their health dreams and their financial dreams. And it is bonkers amazing. And I love every second of it. And I love our team. And that's my story. I earn what I need to earn to make things amazing. And I also will say it's a great plan B. Like, I'm so grateful to have this because during this time of uncertainty, when my husband took a 20% pay cut, again, I live in Fort Lauderdale. His 20% pay cut is significant. And you know what he said? Can you step it up a notch? And I went, I can step it up a notch. And to have that like in my back pocket, so instead of us being like under tremendous stress because he took a 20% pay cut, I decided it was time to put my youngest child in the best private school in Florida, in the state of Florida. It's $30,000 a year. And once again, my husband looked at me and goes, I'm on board with this. You got this? And I said, I got this. The freedom to be able to do that is everything. His income is capped. My income is not. So now I'm going to send it to Natalie, because if she hadn't started the business and shared, I wouldn't be here and Debbie wouldn't be here. So Natalie, our fearless leader, I am going to unmute you and ask you to share a little bit of your story.
Ooh, okay. I'm already emotional just listening to you too. Woo. Hold myself, I said I'm not gonna cry today, but Debbie, man, your story. I've been in this business for 7 years, and wow, I had to keep like hiding my face so I could blow my nose. So anyway, thank you for sharing, and thank y'all for allowing some of our other team members to be on here. So I'm Natalie. I've been with this company 7 years and have never heard a story like that, but anyway, so thank you again for sharing. But it never gets old, you know, hearing these stories and getting on these calls and listening to how these products have, and now my teenager's laughing at me upstairs, you just hush, and how these stories have helped other people. It never gets old. And we were actually, I'm gonna squirrel for a minute, but Christy's kind of used to me doing this. We were on a team call the other day, and somebody got on, and we were talking about, I don't know what, but she said, you know what I've really gotten out of this business? I've gotten community and friendship and women helping women. I mean, yeah, we have some men on the team and they're great too, but you know, it's women helping women and women finding themselves. And with that, I'll go into my story. So I started, kind of cool side story, the very first double diamond in the company. And if you don't, double diamond is going to the top twice. This is an amazing comp plan in that it allows you to re-enroll underneath yourself. When you get to the top rank, you can. So she went to the top twice, and I grew up with her, went to school with her. She was posting about it. I decided I was going to take the products and didn't think they'd work. I was very skeptical about it. I was like, whatever, they're not going to work. Within 2 weeks, I was joyfully cleaning the upstairs. I'm a mom of 3 very, very, very messy kids. And the fact that I joyfully cleaned any upstairs was just beyond me. And I couldn't figure out what I was doing, because I don't know if you've taken other products where it makes your hair feel like it's standing up on top of your head, or you just feel like you've had a whole pot of coffee. I didn't feel anything other than being joyful. So I started taking these products and then started losing weight, and people started asking me what I was doing. And I was like, I'm just drinking this pink drink. And I think Debbie said accidental business, and that's what I would call it. But you know, is anything really ever an accident, right? I mean, I feel like I was just right where I was supposed to be in that season. And I feel like, you know, I was blessed for something that I didn't even know was coming down the pipeline. Excuse me for a second. My nose is running again. It's Debbie's fault. So excuse me. Anyway, off and running I went. I was a full-time photographer. And if any of y'all know anything about that business, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of staying up, editing pictures, all the things. And all of a sudden, Plexus came into my life, and I felt better. People started wanting to do it, and I had an amazing team. Still have that amazing team. So 7 years later, well, halfway through the 7 years, I found myself going through a divorce. And that was where I felt like, you know, I was blessed many years prior, because going through that divorce was not a financial strain. I mean, I was fearful, right? Because when you go through anything different, but I didn't have that financial strain. And I didn't want my children, our children, I should say, to experience anything different other than, you know, the obvious, right? So I was able to, as a single mom, refinance this house in my own name, which is, I'm not very boastful about things, but let's just say this is not a house that a single mom should be able to afford. Definitely a dual income home. And the fact that I was able to do it on my Plexus income was just amazing. Keep the kids here. They, within reason, we can blow and go and do what we want. And it's all because of this amazing income and this amazing, you know, company and products at work. And one of the great things that I do want to share is, I know sometimes people are like, oh, it's network marketing or whatever their take is on it. But I want y'all to consider these few things when thinking about a network marketing company. And this is what makes ours so great, other than we are great, is that we are non-gender specific. All of our products are non-gender specific. Not like we're makeup or whatever the case may be, which those companies are great too, but this is what I love about Plexus. And then two, really non-age specific, because we have the children's multivitamins. We don't have to keep product on hand. If you don't have a lot of a lot of money right now, and you don't have to have all these products, you don't have to deliver them, you don't have to do anything. You really only have to have, if you want to make money in this business, you only have to buy or sell $100 every month to be commission qualified, which is unheard of. So that's pretty cool. I wish that each one of y'all could meet the owners of the company. I call them the owners. Back in the day when there were only 40 of us, I already knew right then how amazing they are, and they just keep getting more and more amazing. But that's pretty much my story in a nutshell. My children take the products, all of them. Sorry, my dog, I'm looking at my dog right now. My dog takes the product, one of them. So is there anything else you want me to share, Christy?
No, I think that's awesome.
Perfect.
I think that's amazing. And you're right. I've seen lots of pictures of your home. It is not a single mama home. When I was a single mama, I lived with my parents with my son. You live in a McMansion.
Well, you know, and there's not a day that doesn't go by that we have a gorgeous side driveway that I literally don't go down that side driveway. And I'm just so thankful for every person on our team. I'm so thankful that they saw the vision. I'm so thankful that they shared with somebody. I'm very, very appreciative and very thankful. And so with that, thank you so much, Christy.
Would you spend 1 minute talking about the incentives, the trips, and the cars?
Oh,
just
gosh.
in case anybody is curious about some of the things you and I have earned.
I just got chills. So the car was really amazing because I did that all on my own. I went to the dealership. I signed the paperwork. When I got the first Lexus, I was still married. And I remember I came home and Chris was like, well, why didn't I go with you? Why didn't I? And I said, didn't say it like this, but in my head I did. I was like, because I didn't need you to go with me. So that was pretty powerful in itself, right? And the trips, getting off the airplane and going to Hawaii and going, oh my goodness. So I always wanted to be in corporate America, but what I wanted to be in corporate America, and this is going to sound a little cheesy, is I wanted the company car. I wanted the company trips. I watched my dad do that in corporate America, and I wanted that, but I didn't want the 9 to 5. I didn't want to have to be in an office. I didn't want to. So I feel like I have the best of both worlds. We get corporate America perks, so to speak, bonuses. I could go on and on, even just fun things when you get to when you get to Mexico, when you get to Maui, they give you baubles, like this necklace. They just spoil us. I mean, that's the fun part in itself. And I spoke over a minute, but I'll be quiet now.
No, you're good. No, you're good. And I will say, for me, my Buick Enclave, like we moved here to Florida with it, and then the air conditioner stopped working. Nobody wants to live in South Florida without air conditioning. And again, Rob is like, when are you going to earn the Lexus? And I'm like, really fast now. Like, I have no air conditioner and my car is falling apart. And so Natalie and I have both earned our Plexus Lexuses. We've gone to Hawaii, lots of other places, DC. Anyway, they spoil us rotten. The trips are amazing. And Debbie, we'll turn it over to you.
And you get the product previews when they're new.
Oh,
yes. And we know what's coming. Yep.
Yeah. So thank you both. Wow, that was really, I love hearing other people's stories. Thanks for sharing, Christy and Natalie. So these are just a few of the stories. There are hundreds of people that have had these same experiences and different ones as well. And some of you listening might be saying to yourself, there's no way I can do this, or this isn't something, they leapt into it because they got in when the company was small. And I'm gonna encourage you to get that mindset out of your head, stop it. I used to be the person that would say, there's no way I could do this. But this, there's a trainer that says, network marketing is a personal development with a compensation plan attached to it. One of the things that I love about what I have been able to do working in this business is develop personally. And so it has been an amazing experience for me. So for some of us, an extra $500 to $1,000 a month is what we need. It's life-changing. And we can help with that. Some of you may be asking yourself a little bit quietly in the back of your mind, is there leadership opportunities like Natalie talked about, you know, where we can feel like we're getting the perks from corporate America, but we don't have to do the 9 to 5? And the answer is yes, because we are looking for people who can see themselves as leaders all over this country, in Australia, in Mexico, New Zealand, and Canada. You just need to identify yourself as someone who would like to do that, and we will put you in the leadership program. So those of you that were invited by somebody else, they're going to be following up with you right after this call. And we're going to put you in 3 categories. One is that you want to just use the products and you're going to be happy with that. That's great. If you're a 2, that means you want to use the products, but you want them to be paid for. So you don't have to try to find room in your budget for them. And number 3 is that you see yourself becoming a leader or be doing something more to have this be either a way to contribute to your family financially or to become put on that leadership path. So we appreciate you taking the time to be here to listen. And as a special gift and a sign of gratitude today, we are going to be able to offer you a $10 rebate. That if you decide to join in the next 24 hours, that will actually pay for your membership fee, because right now Plexus, because of the mess going on in our country, they have come up with a stimulus package, and they have reduced the enrollment fee from $39.95 to $9.95. So that will cover that. So thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you being here. Those of you that I've invited, I'll be getting back with you in just a second, but we are going to go ahead and end the call, and we will ask questions personally with each other. Sound good? Does that sound great? All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you being here. Thanks for sharing.